What's going on, guys? It's Brandon back here again today for another career video. Tried doing this yesterday, however my camera decided no. So today we're going to be doing the career video of a newly retired Craig Anderson. I said at the beginning of the summer this is a career video I wanted to get to. Finally here. Craig Anderson has a special connection to me because he's the only NHL player that I can find or know of that is from my town that I grew up in. And I'm not going to say what that is out loud, but he's the third-round pick, 77th overall in 1999 by Calgary, and he doesn't sign. He can't come to an agreement with Calgary, so he just, back in that day, you just re-enter into the draft. And so that way he's drafted in the third round in 2001, 73rd overall by yours truly, Chicago Blackhawks. And he doesn't make his debut until 2002-03, where he plays 6 games, goes 0-3-2, those two being ties since ties existed back in 2003. No shutouts, 4.00 goals against average, and an .856 save percentage. And for the dead puck era, that is not really great. But you remember, he's just coming off the street, so it's kind of it's not really bad that the Hawks aren't really good at this time either. 2003-04, still in the dead puck era, he plays 21 games, 6 wins, 14 losses, for no overtime losses or ties, 1 shutout, 2.84 goals against average, and a .905 save percentage. His final year at Chicago, after the lockout in 2005-06, he plays 29 games, 6 wins, 12 losses, 4 OT losses, as ties are eliminated after the lockout, 1 shutout, jeez, lost like spasm there. 3.32 goals against average and an .886 save percentage. As you can notice, the Hawks do not make the playoffs because they are at their worst at this time. And you realize how I probably don't have playoffs on the board because I have a lot of stuff on the board right here. Kind of like my Tony Esposito video. So right now I got my phone out on NHL.com, and that's where I got my playoff stats because that's what I use to basis all of this stuff. So I have all that right here. Let me just make sure I have this. Yep, we're good. All right, so and then 2006-07, the Hawks make a change. They got a few goalies in the pipeline at this point. They haven't signed Niemi yet, but they have Javi Bulin as a starter. Good. Excuse me, I'm having hiccups. Huey hasn't been signed yet, so I believe he's in LA at this time. And there's a guy named Corey Crawford who's drafted in 2003 also coming through the lineup. He won't get his real debut until 2010-11, but they decided to make a change. In 2006-07, they trade him to Florida, who needs a goaltender. 2008 for a 2008 6th-round pick ended up being Luke Witkowski. Exactly. 5 games played, 1 goal or 1 win, 1 loss, 1 OT loss, 0 shutouts, 2.21 goals against, and a .931 save percentage. Not too shabby. 2007-08, still with Florida, he plays 17 games, 8 wins, 6 losses, 1 OT loss, 2 shutouts, 2.25 goals against with a .935 save percentage. I did not rank his save percentage when he played that few games. He played only 17 games. That had probably been top 10 in the league for sure. Probably it is top 10 in the league for sure, but since he only played 17 games, I've kind of qualified it as you had to play more than 20 games to do that. Because you 939 and 18 games here. Well, that's because you combine these two save percentages. He played 24 games here, but that's a lockout shortened season. 40 games, 35 games whenever I ranked it. So he's playing at least around half the games, if that's anything. 2008-2009, he plays 31 games that season, most he's played in his career in a season. 15 wins, 7 losses, 5 OT losses with 3 shutouts, 2.71 goals against average with a .924 save percentage. So not too shabby for the now goalie who's seen to be up and coming, but he doesn't really get any action in the playoffs because he's played with a really bad Chicago team, and he's played with Florida. So he goes to the market after Florida doesn't re-sign in Florida. He signs with the Colorado Avalanche, and in 2009-10, Colorado actually is they're an 8th seed that year, and Craig Anderson is a big part of that. 71 games played. That's more than doubled anything he's played in his career so far. 5th in the league that year, which is even crazier. 38 wins, which is 7th in the league that year. I might mark it if it was top 10. 25 losses, which is 6th. OT losses, 7. Shutouts, 7, which is 6th in the league that year. 2.64 goals against average with a .917 save percentage. 4th in Vezina voting. Honestly, he should have been top 3 in Vezina voting that year. I mean, Brodeur was good, but Brodeur had a Devils team around him as well that ended up being 2nd in their conference. This is an 8th-seeded Colorado team that barely makes the playoffs. And in 6 playoff games, he goes 2-4 with a 2.62 goals against and .933 save percentage with 1 shutout against San Jose. As actually, where I had San Jose's number, they won Game 1, they won Game 3 off some lucky bounces, and then San Jose kind of brought it, and yeah, that's unfortunate. But Colorado did put up a good fight against a very good San Jose team. 2010-2011, the tires fall out from under Colorado, and they get bad for a while. 33 games played, 13 wins, 15 losses, 3 OT losses, no shutouts, 3.28 goals against average with an .897 save percentage. He's traded at the deadline that year for Brian Elliott 1-for-1. If you thought, when was Brian Elliott ever with Colorado? That's exactly what I thought. So, and I was alive for it. 18 games with Ottawa, because I remember when Brian Elliott was in Ottawa. I don't remember when he was in Colorado. But Craig Anderson, everyone remembers him in Ottawa. That's where he's most known for. 18 games played, 11 wins, 5 losses, 1 OT loss, 2 shutouts, 2.05 goals against average with a .939 save percentage. When the average is out, I didn't put the averages from the entire season, but he was much better with Ottawa. I'll give him that. And that's clearly shown. 2011-2012, then, he starts his long streak of 9 years with Ottawa. 63 games played, 33 wins, 22 losses, which is 8th in the league that season. 6 OT losses, 3 shutouts, 2.84 goals against with a .914 save percentage. 2012-13 in a lockout-shortened season. 24 games played, Ottawa actually did make the playoffs in 2012. I thought they did. 7 games played as they go up against, I believe it's the Rangers that season in the first round. Rangers were number 1 in the East that year, and the Senators were number 8. So he's once again with another 8th seed. In 7 games, he goes 3-4 with a 2.01 goals against average, another .933 save percentage, and 1 shutout. Anderson's playing well in the playoffs. He's shown that he can play in the playoffs. And he doesn't get that playoff run, really, until much later into his career, around more than 15 years after he's drafted the first time. But 2012-13, 24 games played, 12 wins, 9 losses, 2 OT losses, 3 shutouts, 1.69 goals against average for first in the league, .941 save percentage, which is first in the league, 4th in Vezina voting once again. And Ottawa, this time they're a bit higher seeded. Who they play in the first round that year? That's let's see, who made the playoffs that year? Number 1 was Pittsburgh. Number 2 was I don't know, because Boston beat the Rangers. They played 10 games in the playoffs. But anyway, he goes 5-4, so he gets pulled one of those times or didn't start. 301 goals against average, 918 save percentage, and no shutouts. I know they're eliminated by Pittsburgh in the second round. I just don't remember who they beat to get there. Yeah, I got nothing. But so moving on to 2013-14, so Ottawa's made the playoffs 2 years in a row. But Ottawa is like the equivalent of Philadelphia at this time. It's like every other year they seem to be in the playoffs. And I mean, they make it back-to-back in 2012 and 2013. However, after that, it's kind of just one and out. 2013-14, it's out. 53 games played, 25 wins, 16 losses, 8 OT losses. So he plays really well. 3 shutouts, or 4 shutouts that season with a 3.00 goals against average and a .911 save percentage. They're out of the playoffs that year, but in 2014-15, they're back in. 35 games played that season because Ottawa's goaltending gets injured, and Ottawa beat Montreal that year. That's what they did. They beat Montreal in 2013. But they were a 7th seed that year, I remember. It all just clicked when I saw 2015. Because the Hamburglar comes in. He has that incredible record, Andrew Hammond. That, if he was a Blackhawk, that'd be a very interesting career to look at, that's for sure. Because Andrew Hammond, he comes in and steals the spotlight in Ottawa, and he starts in the playoffs as Ottawa's goaltending is badly injured. 14 wins that season, though, 13 losses, 8 OT losses with 3 shutouts, 2.49 goals against average with a 923 save percentage, which is 8th in the league that season. In the playoffs that season, he plays 4 games, 2-2, with a 0.97 goals against average. I don't know how he pulled that off. With a 972 save percentage and 1 shutout. So apparently Hammond wasn't the only one stealing stuff in that playoffs, as Ottawa was, I'm pretty sure they were swept by Montreal that season. I'm pretty sure they were swept by Montreal in that 2015 series. But, were they? Or was Hammond in and then he got pulled? Probably that, because I remember Hammond was going high and then the playoffs hit and it kind of just curb stopped. 2015-16 though, 60 games played, which is 10th in the league that season. Realized he wasn't even top 10 when he played 63. 31 wins, 23 losses for 7th in this league, 5 OT losses, 4 shutouts, 2.78 goals against average, 916 save percentage, and no playoffs for Ottawa. 2016-17 is a huge year for Craig Anderson, and unfortunately it's a lot because of the wrong reasons. His wife, at the time, is diagnosed with throat cancer, and so he's given an extended leave to go be with her. His wife pushes him to come back. In his first game back, he gets the shutout at Edmonton, and I remember seeing all the Edmonton fans. Cam Talbot came out and congratulated him. We're all clapping for him. Emotional interview there. But his wife beats throat cancer that season, and in 2016-17, 40 games played, 25 wins, 11 losses, 4 OT losses, 5 shutouts, which is 7th in the league, 2.28 goals against average, 926 save percentage, which is 5th in the league. If he never took a leave of absence, I argue he would have been top 2 in Vezina probably that season. That was his probably best season overall. He was lights out that season. He wins the Masterton Trophy for his dedication to hockey, and fully deserved, no complaints. In the playoffs, Ottawa goes on the run that he always needed as well. 19 games played, 11-8 with a 2.34 goals against average, a 922 save percentage, and 1 shutout, and they are eliminated in Game 7 of the Eastern Conference Finals by the Pittsburgh Penguins in double overtime. A crushing defeat. I was really rooting for Ottawa that playoffs. I didn't want to see Pittsburgh win again. I hated Nashville, and Anaheim wasn't a fan of mine either, so when it got to the Final Four, I was all on board with Ottawa, and they had a lot of players I liked as well, like Bobby Ryan. Mark Stone was there, Erik Karlsson, of course. I wasn't as big of a fan of then as I was now, but still, incredible for him to be able to see, and his wife, for him to motivate him to go back to play, and she beats throat cancer as well, which even shows the strength of that entire family. 2017-18, it all falls apart. Ottawa completely falls apart after that great story. 58 games played, 23 wins, 25 losses, which is 9th in the league that season, 6 overtime losses with 2 shutouts, 3.32 goals against average, 898 save percentage. It seemed like all the gas came out of Craig Anderson then. It wasn't his fault, but the team fell apart. They went out and got Matt Duchene and just collapsed. 2018-19 was they bottomed out. 50 games played for Anderson that season, 17 wins, 27 losses for 2nd in the league that year, 4 OT losses, 2 shutouts, 3.51 goals against average with a 903 save percentage. Then you have 2019-20, his final season with the Ottawa Senators. In a shortened season, he plays 34 games, 11 wins, 17 losses, 2 overtime losses, no shutouts that season, 3.25 goals against average, 902 save percentage. And in 2020-21, he signs with Washington. Many people think he's going to retire because he was first drafted in 1999 as an 18-year-old. At this point, he's already 40 years old. But in 2020-21, he only plays 4 games as he has an injury that keeps him sidelined for a good portion. Or no, who was in net that year for Washington? That was probably the year of Samsonov and Vanacek. That might have been the year of Samsonov and Vanacek, and I remember Washington was having some struggles in that playoff against the Islanders, and I remember there were some injuries in there, and he ends up playing 4 games during the regular season, 2 wins, 1 loss, no OT losses as he comes in relief once. 2.13 goals against and a .915 save percentage, so he bounces back a little bit, and he goes on his last playoff run. He plays 2 games for Washington in that playoffs, 1 win, 1 loss, and he has a 2.67 goals against average with a .929 save percentage as Washington is eliminated by the New York Islanders in the first round that season. 2021-22, he signs with the Buffalo Sabres as everyone expects him to retire. 31 games played, 17 wins, 12 losses, and 2 overtime losses with a 0 shutouts, 3.12 goals against average, and an .897 save percentage. Buffalo at this point, it's modern Buffalo. They're heading towards the playoffs finally, but they're not there yet. They're 5th in the Atlantic that season, and there's a pretty big discrepancy between them and 8th in the playoffs, which that year was 2022. Who would have been 8th that year? I don't know. I can't think right now. 2022-23, he says, I'm going to play 1 more year. As the backup to Eric Comrie, and of course, Devin Levi gets in, Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen. 26 games played, 11 wins, 11 losses, 2 OT losses, 1 shutout, 3.06 goals against average, and a .908 save percentage. Buffalo just misses the playoffs by about 2 points. And that would cap off as a very solid career for Craig Anderson. He gets a standing ovation in his last game. And he looked pretty good with that black Buffalo jersey, I will say. Now, for totals of his career, 709 games played, which is 29th all-time. You can't even see it on the board because there's so much here. 319 wins all-time, which is 32nd. 275 losses, which is 27th. 73 OT losses and / ties, which I kind of put into 1, and I couldn't really find the record for it. Shutouts, he's got 43 in the regular season, which is 41st all-time. 2.86 goals against average, which is 163rd all-time, and a .912 save percentage, which is 51st all-time for his career. In the playoffs, he plays 48 games, goes 24 wins, 23 losses, with a 2.36 goals against average, .929 save percentage, and 4 shutouts. Overall, I would say he was a playoff goaltender. He shined in the playoffs, and unfortunately, he never really had a great team around him to get him over the hump. If you look at the teams he was with an 8th-seeded Colorado, 8th-seeded Ottawa Senators, 7th-seeded Ottawa Senators. Actually, a pretty good Ottawa Senators team here. This year, 2015, they were 7th seed again, maybe 6th seed, maybe 8th seed. I don't remember. Well, it can't be 8th seed because the Rangers were 1-1, so probably 7th seed. 2017, they're actually 2nd in their division, so give them credit. They actually had home ice in a round. 2021, they're with Washington, but Washington at this point is starting to fall off. And then he never gets a chance with Buffalo. But overall, a very solid career for a goalie who was never seen as one of the best in the league, but always considered a decent goaltender as an option. And yeah, that's really going to be all I have for you guys today. I wanted to take a look at Craig Anderson. I've always wanted to, and I'm finally glad I got to do it now. Thank you guys so much for watching. Leave your thoughts and comments down below of Craig Anderson and what you really thought of him as a goaltender, as he was around for. If you're watching this video, you definitely saw him play. That's for sure, because he played 20 years in the NHL. I mean, he was drafted in '99 at first, so he was 18 then. He retires in 2023, which is 24 years after he was drafted. So incredible, just incredible. Once again, thank you guys so much for watching, and I shall see you guys in the next one. Goodbye.